The thing about Prince Harry, is he comes across as a sort of swaggering type person, doesn't he? But when he walked into court, I figured, well, if you look closely enough, you can see that he's very nervous, nervous for a lot of reasons. Nervous about how he will be received back here into the United Kingdom. As we've seen, you see these headlines, say from a tabloid newspaper, moan alone or something like that. They're never particularly kind, simply because they've had enough. They've realised, in fact, just what a difficult thing that he has done to the British monarchy. Well, not necessarily him, but guided, of course, by his wife, the famed hungry cable TV star, that is, Meghan Markle. But the one thing that Harry is truly terrified of, and this is absolutely 100%, is the fact that his older brother will one day, well, literally be the boss. And he knows that it's curtains for whatever he can now get set in place before that day actually happens. Let me explain. Hi, good to see you, chums. Thank you so much for your time. It's true, though. The bottom line is Prince William is going to be the boss, as we all know. And I don't mean that in a flippant way. I mean, he will be king. And what William, I can tell you from an excellent source, is just very angry about. Forget all of the sort of paraphernalia regarding, really, the British monarchy, but really the upset and hurt that Harry and Meghan have piled on to his family. William was very, very close to Queen Elizabeth, spending a lot of Sundays with her at Windsor and what they described as, training, king training. But basically you can see that her sterling work did a lot of good. He is very statesmanlike, he looks in authority, and you just can see the complete difference between the two brothers. Harry sat at home seething because he wanted exactly the same thing. But he was allowed virtually anything he wanted to do. The Queen, as we saw with that Michelle Obama, Barack Obama thing when he was launching the Invictus Games, was willing to do anything to appease this very difficult young man at that time. But as he got older, he just seemingly got more and more jealous. And that truly was the bigger problem, not just literally for Harry, but of course for people around him, because he was always looking for something the same. And we saw that very much detailed in his book Spare, about the size of the bedrooms, what he got. And then, of course, once he got married, he decided that he wanted the same thing. Why couldn't he move into Windsor Castle with his bride? Why couldn't he have this? Then they want security, the sort of thing. This was driven on by somebody basically saying they're treating you as a lesser person. You're not as good. Why should you, allow this? You deserve more. You understand how this moves forward. Now, the bigger issue here, as you can imagine, for Harry is literally, as he's detailed himself, he sees the bigger problem not necessarily as his elder brother, but in fact as Prince George. You see, once Prince George becomes of age and is already a dashingly handsome, good-looking boy, and I like the fact that he's a little bit shy, I think it's quite sweet. Well, once he does become an 18-year-old boy, as did happen to Prince William, then all the attention directs to him. It's just the nature of time, isn't it? That's what happens, and Harry knows this. But the bigger problem, according to a well-placed source, with Harry and Meghan's marriage is this. You see, basically Harry realises that what he brought to Meghan Markle was worldwide fame, something she was desperate for. And, the wedding and everything else was just a bypass to her having cameras, action lenses, that sort of stuff. That's what she really loved. But without sort of the power, and this it goes back to also the security thing that's happening over here right now in the United Kingdom at the Royal Courts of Justice, well, the only thing that Harry's got is the titles. And William will be removing those titles 100%. He would prefer them to work independently, known as the Windsors. He doesn't mind that, Mr. and Mrs. Windsor, I've been told. Why can't they operate like that? And what set William going nuclear, apparently, is the fact that Meghan is openly using the brand name, what she was asked specifically not to do in the terms of like Sussex, Sussex Royal, Meghan Duchess of Sussex, sort of, degrading the royal family on Instagram. She tried the thing by changing the name and it utterly bombed. Nobody took a blind bit of notice of it, right? It's clearly an idea that she wanted to get some attention for. But according to that source, Harry is very, very nervous about the future with Meghan because he can see that now she's a woman who wants her own way on many different things, you know, and striding out independently without him. She's not there supporting him in London. She's never supporting him with the collapse of Centre Barley or anything like that. She's too busy with her own name game, right? And a source tells me that Harry believes that the titles, when and if and, you know, at what point they go, well, he believes that she would go as ever, allegedly. This is because this is what he brings to the whole operation, as it were. You see, Harry doesn't really have that much to offer Meghan right now. She's now famous, she can do something with that name, and more importantly, she started her own brands, all independently of Harry. He's not on the company names, it's not a joint effort. If you don't know where this is leading, then clearly you're not reading the signs. But even Prince Harry, in the clouded world that he lives in, is. Does that make sense now? Neil Shaw, Kensington, London.